Thank you, Co-Chairman. Good afternoon to everyone. Something was already going wrong. I'll stay from here. My generation learned about corrugation reading a paper from 1993 by Stuart Grassi and Joe Kalusek. And they classified corrugation in several types of appearance and recurrence. And the most important was certainly the rutting corrugation that affects probably 99% of metals in the world. So I'll talk only about that. At the time, it was thought that the mechanism of formation of rutting corrugation was the second torsional resonance of driven axle, something that we are all familiar with. So clearly in heavy railways, in metros, and in tram lines, we always see this type of short pitch corrugation named rutting. We know that corrugation is promoted by a high coefficient of friction. That's something that normally happens in metros where they are typically underground, so coefficient of friction is relatively higher than in external situations. Quite recently, a couple of years ago, Dr. Grassi, Stuart from now on, published a paper on the International Journal of Rail and Rapid Transit, talking about, it was two papers. So the first one talked about resonance from a different point of view, saying that the fundamental flexural resonance of axles is the origin of a corrugation, and coming experience and citing other papers from other researchers, of course. These papers come from Stuart's experience in Kuala Lumpur on the Kejang line in Malaysia. And I had already a clue that the corrugation had a lateral origin, looking at these pictures that I shot 20 years ago. And maybe none of you realized that this picture was introduced as a background for all the, let's say, banners and leaflets for my conference. Probably no one noticed that was this strange picture. So a few years later, it was realized that the lateral origin of corrugation was the flexural behavior of the axles. Nevertheless, in the same paper, Stuart very honestly admits that he didn't recommend anything about what to do in case there was a problem in Kuala Lumpur, saying that in case rutting occurred, that could have not been prevented by making changes in the track work, but just recommending the use of friction modifiers. That's something that we are all very familiar with in case there is some corrugation in rails. In the second, the companion paper, so paper 2 of the same series, let's say, he said that after 2 years of service, there was no corrugation. And this is something that he already told us, for those of you that were in Melbourne 3 years ago. He said that, and he gave us this contribution saying that rail corrugation, a problem solved. I think that I jumped out of my seat in surprise when I read this sentence, because I was frankly surprised. A few months later, probably 1 year later, we got a journal. You can download or browse this page on the internet at this address. And in this journal, that is the Interface Journal, the editor says that Dr. Stuart Grassi demonstrated that a system can be designed to be corrugation-free. The line above says that a certain guy named Eric Magel said that he was astounded. I don't know if you have any idea of who he is, but in case you know him, please let me know. Okay. Then a strange picture with a guy writing something on a rail. That's me in Kuala Lumpur. Because I don't know why, mysteries of life, I was contacted to make a consultancy on noise and vibrations there. So I was there to do something else. But walking along the track and patrolling the line, let me say, I discovered something that was totally unexpected. I saw something like this, surface defect. Without any spalling or without any gauge corner cracking, I'm talking about a low rail. So you see on the leftmost and the central picture two appearance at the naked eye of this low rail. And on the right photograph, you see the results of a dye penetrant testing that was the only thing that I could do at that moment. So I asked the guys in Kuala Lumpur to make a quite aggressive grinding, removing 3 millimeters on the top of rail. And after that, we got exactly the same. So that proved empirically that all the cracks were vertical, so there was no branching, nothing coming up, no spalling, nothing. The direction of the cracks is horizontal, transversal, let me say. So I was frankly surprised. So I try to summarize in this slide what I understood in that very short time. So essentially, it is corrugation free. So from that point of view, it works. There is no corrugation. These rails are R350 HT rails made in Japan, so they are very good because they are made in Japan, of course. For all the curves below, sorry, there's mistakes. For curves below 600 meters. And there is this peculiar appearance, and the guys in Kuala Lumpur named it turtle shelling. I was surprised because I looked at all the existing codes, like the USC 712 and the N standard and the rail defect reference from our FRA, and that defect was not present anywhere. So I looked myself, I didn't have an idea of what it was. Anyway, I said, okay, if you call it turtle shelling, I will call it turtle shelling from now on. It's okay for me, I have no better name for that. So curiously, it is mostly affecting curves with 200 meters radius, but much less affecting curves with 150 meters radius. So sharper curve seems to be less affected by the problem. Cracks are deep, as I said before. And what's curious is that defects appear at the end of the defectal viability period. So as any type of machinery that you buy, it breaks the day after the warranty is expired. It's fantastic. So Stuart stopped his observation 2 years after the beginning of a service. 2 years plus 1 day, they started observing the turtle shelling. That's fantastic. A wonderful design of the system. So he was right, Stuart, but at what price? So the idea is that to remove corrugation, that is basically an annoyance problem, and someone has turned the problem into a safety problem. So it doesn't look to be a clever move. We don't know how deep those cracks are, but certainly are deeper than 3 millimeters. And I was told, but I can only report what I was told, that some cracks are even 20 millimeters long, deep into the rail head, and they had to remove some rails. But you have to believe me as I had to believe them, so I have no proof for that. The Kuala Lumpur-Kajang line is very winding. It's mostly elevated with some tunnel sections. It's conventional trains with car bodies resting on 2 bogies with 2 wheel sets each, conventional. So I thought about how can I think about organizing a job or trying to fix a problem there. So I used the whole life rail model developed by Mark Burstow and his colleagues in Britain at the beginning of this millennium. And I quite arbitrarily divided the damage index area in 3 bands. The green band where there is low damage, that means that you don't have to do anything. At low T gamma values, it's because you have no damage. At higher T gamma values, so it's point C here. I don't know if I can use the pointer, but you can see it on the screen, no problem. It's because wear wipes away all the cracks. So point C is fantastic because you have wear at the end, but you don't have cracks, so the situation remains stable. Then there is a physiological damage area where you have to grind or mill from time to time because there are some cracks progressing or some excessive wear. And the pink or red area is where severe damage exists, so where cracks proceed quite fast or wear is particularly heavy. So point B is typically intended to represent conditions of mild curves, where there is high RCF and on high rail and low wear, like in Hatfield case, for example. So the points that I think are more representative in this diagram of the situation that I found in Kuala Lumpur are these 2 points, E200 and E150 you see here. Because E150 showed very, very little damage, not to say that they didn't show any damage at all, so there's nothing to do there. Keep it as it is. For the E200, there is some damage, but it came evident at least 2 years after the beginning of service. So maybe one could think about using friction modifier to reduce the damage. In fact, we have 2 possibilities. Moving from E to 100 point, reducing T gamma, so reducing friction by using friction modifier, we can improve the situation by applying a constant and very high quantity of friction modifier, so going to the dashed horizontal arrow to the left. But if we use an insufficient quantity of friction modifier, we might also worsen the situation, because we might go to up the red arrow, so increasing the damage. The other way is to go to the higher wear. So, but I was not so crazy to propose sanding in curves to increase wear and to wash away cracks. So this is something unexpected, so I ask for your help to try to understand what's happening. In the paper, I make some assumptions and some ideas of if it's better having hard rails or not hard rails in terms of sensitivity on the possible malfunctioning of the dispensers of friction modifier. So if you want more details, you can look at the paper. So but I have to go back to the start. Why do we get corrugation? So this is my hypothesis. Maybe some of you use off-road cars, all-wheel drive, and if you lock the rear differential and you lock the front differential, you may have troubles trying to steer and make a U-turn, probably. But if you weld the steering column, it is hard to do any kind of curve, so you are forced to go straight. So an all-wheel drive with 2 locked differentials and a welded steering column is exactly the same as a railway bogie. Someone will tell you about conicity, difference of rolling radii, primary yaw stiffness, that crap. When you have corrugation, that means nothing. So, and if you negotiate a curve at 50 kilometers an hour, it's not a running dynamics problem. So don't talk about that thing. You get corrugated rails and stop talking about that. The root of all evil is the angle of attack. We don't forget that we have corrugation in systems with independently rotating wheels. So it's not a problem of longitudinal creepage, but it's a problem of lateral creepage. And thanks to this fantastic feature, the angle of attack of bogies, we have wear, we have RCF, we have corrugation. That's fantastic. So we have designed a perfect vehicle that destroys the rail. This is the first Tokyo metro in 1927. And if you go at the nearby station, you take a train, it's exactly the same. A car body with 2 bogies and with 2 wheel sets each. So nothing changed from that point of view. So we got corrugation 100 years ago, we got corrugation today, and we'll get corrugation in 100 years. So nothing changes. It's impossible. But is there really a way to prevent corrugation? Well, I tried to give some hints in a paper that I gave in 2016 at the unknown conference. But you can easily retrieve this paper, where we discussed about the Ulf tram in Vienna that we talked with Richard this morning, and also the Talgo trains that have passively driven axles, single axles. And we also gave a paper in Delft that probably none of you remember, in Delft at CM2025, where we made a long study with traction braking and blah, blah, blah on a metro. Okay. But no one cares about that, of course. So when we talk about corrugation, there are several points of view. So we have a culprit Who is the culprit? You might say the bogie, the vehicle. No, 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 it's the vehicle manufacturer. Because they come here and they open their catalog and say, which train do you want? No, but I would like a different train. No, 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 this is the catalog. You take the train that you want. You issue the tender, I want the tender, so you, okay. But the accomplices are the public transportation authorities, because I want Wi-Fi, entertainment, air conditioning, but I don't care at all about wheel rail contracts. So, okay, you sell me the train, I buy the train, and we are all happy. Okay, that's fine. So there are, as in all things, there are fans who are the biggest lovers of corrugation. Grinding and milling train manufacturers is a great business. But even bigger is the business of service providers. So who grind the rails and who mill the rails. It's fantastic. It's a very profitable business. So they really love corrugation. And measuring equipment manufacturers, I own a CAT, a corrugation analysis trolley, that I've been using over the last 25 years. And okay, but I want to advertise, it's not here the case of. But it's a very good thing having corrugation for them. Scientists and researchers, I don't know how many sessions we got in this conference talking about corrugation, so it's a very nice thing to have. It's nice to have corrugation, so even for us. Clearly, noise and vibration consultants, because corrugation is mostly a noise and vibration problems. Corrugation has never killed anyone, but cracks, yes, probably. So, draw your own conclusions. Okay, and rail manufacturers, because more grinding means changing the rails more frequently, and gauge wear, it's even more, of course. And last but not least, friction modifier product and equipment manufacturers. But there are also someone who think that corrugation is bad, but the list is much shorter. But I'm not so, I don't want to be killed by any one of the people that I mentioned before. So all I can say is that long live corrugation. So I don't want to eliminate, I know how to, but I don't want to eliminate corrugation, because I would erase $1 billion business every year. So it's not the case. I just would like to conclude with my some snapshots from my family album. So that's me 20 years ago with my beloved first cat that I've been using with great satisfaction over the years. Now I am happy owner of 4 cats, or better, 4 cats own me. It's a bit different. But I would like to suggest you to read a very nice book. It's a quite poetic novel that is very famous here in Japan. You can read the title there. I can only say that if cats had disappeared from the world, I would have probably not been here today. So thanks God we have cats, and we have corrugation, and we have bogies, and blah, blah, blah. Arigato.